even though they just have a drone just floating in our airspace.
Yeah, well, look, apparently, Lawrence, this has been happening for years. That this has happened over
China
Florida,
closed U.S.
Texas,
shooting balloon
over
down.
Hawaii.
Excessive.
And I've been talking to a number of senior administration officials from the last administration, from the Trump administration, who say they weren't informed, and had they been, they would have advised the president to shoot it down. So for the Chinese to say this was our escalation is just ridiculous, about as ridiculous as saying this is a weather balloon. But Lawrence, the other piece here is that this damn thing should have been shot down before it even got to Alaska. I want to know why. That has nothing to do with civilian casualties on the ground. But I do have to say, and want to put this out there, that I think the silver lining here is that this was a Sputnik moment for most Americans. Look, we have been pounding the table about the spying that's going on in our universities and our research labs, in cyber, but that's all behind the scenes. Now this is for every American to see, and I hopefully appreciate, as they did with Sputnik in 1957, that we are in a new Cold War, that the Chinese Communist Party is seeking to replace us, and we need a wake-up call as a country.
So, General, this has been going on for a while. Apparently, they didn't alert the American people that this was going on. We've already heard from the CIA director that Taiwan is almost about to be under attack. We know China is going to attack them. So, knowing what we know about them, about to attack Taiwan, knowing that we've just been having these balloons just floating all over the United States, are we prepared from a military perspective, sir?
Well, obviously, Lawrence, if we let the thing fly across our country, we're probably not prepared. They do this for three reasons. One is to gather intel, of course. The other is to gauge our reaction to it. It's like a probing attack that we call it in the military. See what we do when they come inside our wire. And they went all the way through our base camp, so to speak. And then I think lastly, they observed the internal discord. So as they flew this across our country, and we had this internal discord that the liberal media paints this as no big deal, and then when it's shot down, it's a huge deal, and Biden's showing strength, and that media whitewashing of this really paints over a real issue that I think Congressman Waltz was talking about, that we've got the incoherent policy toward China, and we really need to understand that China is an adversary, and our national defense.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. My last upload of the day. I'll see you tomorrow.
In the previous administration, that was our #1 threat, and President Trump was very clear about how to engage China, not only from a military perspective, but diplomacy, information, and economic. And we see none of that handling of the levers of national power from this administration.
Yeah. They're not prepared. Elections have consequences. Our national security is now at risk. Gentlemen, thanks so much, and thanks for your service to the country. I want to bring in intelligence expert Dan Hoffman, former CIA station chief, Brett Volovich, former military intelligence, and Teresa Payton, former CIO under President Bush. Thank you all for being here. Dan, I want to go to you first, brother. What type of intelligence would that drone be gathering? And how long do you think this has been going on?
Well, those are two really key questions that I think the Senate and the House Intelligence Committees are going to be asking this administration. How many times in the past has China launched these spy balloons? And secondly, what kind of information, what kind of intelligence was China able to suck out of the United States? And so we shot down the air balloon, and the payload made its way into the ocean. So whether we can actually learn something from that payload or not is an open question. I'm sure we have our sources who are right now at the ready trying to report on what's going on inside China's intelligence service and what they sought to gain from this. But Lawrence, those are the key questions to be asking, and the administration, I'm quite sure, is going to be held accountable to answer them.
Yeah, so Brett, you've been talking about this. You've been telling the world, you've been telling the United States, oh, these drones, talking about it. I mean, we're not prepared for this. We can do a better job here. Do you think that our leaders are going to finally listen to you? I mean, it's been happening for a while. They haven't done anything about it. We didn't even know what was going on. Brett, did you know what was going on? Because you've been warning them for a while about we need to be prepared for something like this.
Well, we're clearly not prepared. And I think President Joe Biden already seems to be patting himself on the back, taking credit for this swift response. Well, I'm sure all Americans out there would be glad to know we've shot down the surveillance balloon after it already completed a successful Chinese spy mission. And who knows what else is out there? You know, my main concern here, Lawrence, is we don't truly know what was being collected and what data was already transmitted over top of our airspace. And to say, you know, they waited to shoot it down because it didn't pose a significant threat to us is disingenuous. The point of intelligence collection, the point of surveillance, just like this on your adversaries, is to cause damage. That's why the U.S. government conducts surveillance, to strike at perceived threats. And so whether that damage is immediate or years down the road is irrelevant. Significant damage has been done by this aircraft being in the air for this long, and this administration's initial response to try and whistle past this threat tells me that they're not really prepared to defend us all. And I used to deal a lot with surveillance like this, and people don't really understand the amount of data that can be captured from that altitude. I mean, that thing's sitting at 60, 70,000 feet in the air. You park it over Montana, but you can stare into a lot of other states. I mean, that is a significant amount of intelligence collection that we may never know the real consequences from.
So let's push this a little forward, Teresa. So we see them feeling empowered right here. When do we expect them to attack Taiwan? Because it doesn't seem like there's anyone or any country in their way right now. If China is going to mock us after putting a drone in our territory and say that we escalate things, I guess the big question is, when are they going to attack Taiwan? Do we know?
We don't really know, but the good news is on the United States side and our ally side, we have satellites, we have intelligence, and we can monitor and watch. The question is what will the world's response be to what just went on here? If that were a manned airplane that was flying at that altitude in U.S. airspace, there's international treaties and accords that say what a response would be to that. You know, so the question is what's the response going to be? And that response to what happened in the United States with this spy balloon could potentially deter China from going into Taiwan. So it's going to be a really tricky international conversation, but we do have to have a response if we want any semblance of not having them go into Taiwan.
That's the perfect segue. That's what I'm going to ask the Kansas Senator. Thanks so much for joining the program. Joining me now, Kansas Senator Roger Marshall.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.
So, you know, watching this all, China feels empowered.